Welcome to the Macmillan Report. I'm Marilyn Wilkes, your host, and our guest is Gordon Geballe, Associate Dean of Alumni and External Affairs and lecturer in Urban Ecology at Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. He is interested in sustainability issues that are faced by small island developing states. Today we'll talk with him about Haiti and sustainable development in a post-disaster context. Welcome, Professor Geballe.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you teach a special graduate course with some other folks here at Yale, particularly about Haiti and the issues there. So why don't you give us an overview of it?
Okay, so this course started just after the earthquake in 2010 when Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, was pretty much leveled. Mm-hmm. And the students here at Yale, graduate students, especially at the School of Forestry and Environmental Studies and at Public Health, said we should be doing more in Haiti than just sending money to the Red Cross. Haiti's known as the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. It's one of the poorest in the world. And I think their instinct was, we're special people, we've got this great education, we have all these resources here. Shouldn't we be doing more than just sort of waving our cigarette lighters and giving a couple dollars and then going back to our studies? Mm-hmm. So it took me a while, but I found a doctor at the medical school, Gary Desir, who's Haitian. Mm-hmm. And he and I have caught a course. This spring will be our fourth version of it. And it's a practicum course. We study projects in Haiti, mm-hmm. and we go to Haiti over spring break for about 10 days, the whole class, about 20 of us, 16 students and 4 staff. And we're working with L'Hôpital Albert Schweitzer, which is a hospital north of Port-au-Prince, about 2 hours.
Okay.
And our goal is to not do projects. This is something we might want to get into. I'm very interested in the word help. How do you help somebody? Mm-hmm. We don't do projects. A better version of it is that we're a consultancy.
Okay.
So we're there to listen to them, observe what they do, listen to what their problems are, and then try to make suggestions to them as to where they might proceed, where it might be productive for them to move. Sometimes we do a little bit of work for them, but most of it's just transferring ideas. And then, of course, we get a lot. We get an introduction to Haiti, the beautiful people, the culture, the food. We get to travel around their country and have a nice spring break.
And so let's talk specifics. Specifically, give us some examples of what you do talk about in the class.
Okay. So although we're associated with a hospital, mm-hmm. we actually don't go down and do any medical work. Mm-hmm. We work with an organization called Integrated Community Services that the hospital set up. So the hospital, as many hospitals do, noticed that many of the people were coming to them probably sicker than they should be. Mm-hmm. In this case, mainly because of malnutrition. So if you're malnourished, you're going to get a cold, but it's going to be a more serious cold. Sure. Or you're going to get cholera, and it's going to be a much more serious version of cholera. So the hospital said, we should go out into the community and try to help solve this malnutrition problem. And that's where we came in. So for instance, as you probably know, a large amount of the trees of Haiti have been cut down in the last 50 years or so. Especially now as the population's grown bigger, the wood is used mainly for charcoal in the rural areas to cook. Mm-hmm. So we are working with this Integrated Community Services in a field called agroforestry. Agroforestry is agriculture and forestry, so plants, crops, and trees put together in some kind of fashion. Mm-hmm. So for instance, agroforestry can solve erosion problems. Much of Haiti is steep hillside, okay. And if you cut the trees down, the roots aren't holding the soil bound, the soil will wash away, and it will not only degrade the farmer's land, but it will then spoil through erosion and landslides the land down below. Mm-hmm. So by planting trees, you hold the soil in place. So the Integrated Community Services already started an agroforestry program, and we're there to observe it and help them think through problems. So one of the issues for this semester will be yams.
Okay.
One of my favorite desserts.
I love them too.
They're great, especially as we approach Thanksgiving mm-hmm. here or around Thanksgiving time. Yams are a very nutritious yes. plant, and they can be planted in an area where there's a little bit more shade. So you can plant them under trees before the canopy gets totally dark. So mm-hmm. You can have trees that are growing to hold the soil back. They eventually will be a crop that you can cut down and sell as timber, so there'll be money for the farmer. But in the meantime, you can plant the yams under the trees and either eat them or take them to the village to sell. So that's an example of agroforestry which they've already started, and we're just consulting with them on their projects.
Okay. So now this will be the 4th or 5th year you're going?
This will be the 4th year.
4th year. So in the course of the past 4 years, what do you think have been some of the greater successes?
Okay, so this is a huge problem, the word success.
Okay.
As you may know, in the philanthropic or foundation world, the foundations increasingly are asked, prove to us that when we give you money to do something, that you're having the desired outcomes. But if you think about it, how do we measure nutrition when we're really talking about what a child's going to be like 3 or 4 or 5 years from now? We don't know if we really are having the effect. So it's very hard to ask the question if we're successful. The closest I've come to that is if we come back either next year or the year after, and something that we talked about is something that people are doing in the field, then I will feel that we gave an idea that someone thought was useful and that the local people are appropriating. So as an example, in our very first visit down there, we had a student from the School of Public Health who'd been in the Peace Corps in Africa. And she'd observed something called a tippy tap, which is a very simple hand washing mechanism that allows you to wash your hands, and the water that drips out of a bottle goes into the soil. So when you're washing your hands, you're not using water that someone else has already used. You're not washing in a tub where your water and then you're washing your hands and so on. And so we introduced this, and there actually have been a couple more built, and the people are talking about it, and it's possible that it will be a mechanism that will have lasting power in an area where there's zero running water, and water is very scarce to begin with in the mountains.
So since the earthquake, I mean, I'm not sure how developed Haiti was prior to the earthquake. Was there running water prior to the earthquake?
Okay, so Haiti's, like most other countries in the world, including the United States, in a simple way, you can divide it into an urbanized area and a rural area. So in the urbanized area, there is running water. There are 3-star hotels, 4-star hotels. There's streets and, bars and everything you would find in any city. When you get to the rural areas, as you would go in the United States, you find very little, almost no piped water, and everybody's getting their water from springs or from wells. And that's another problem that we've worked on, is what's the quality of the water that's coming out of those wells. So Haiti spent a lot of time worrying about infectious diseases, and since the earthquake, we have Haiti had the cholera that was introduced, and so washing your hands, but the quality of water used for cooking and washing has become a big issue.
So has there been much improvement over the past 3 years since the earthquake? I mean, it seems like seems like a lot of money got dumped into Haiti.
Yep.
So did that make any kind of difference at all?
Well, I hate to give you a very academic answer, but the answer to that is yes and no. So yes, in that new housing is being built. Most of the people that lived in tents have left the tents. Actually, cholera was kept out of the tent city, so there's a phenomenal success because the cholera came after the earthquake. So you had the earthquake, you had so many people move into these tent cities. The cholera came in a rural area, and they were able, by public health methods, to keep the cholera from getting into an area, the tent cities, where you would have expected to just run rapid.
Right.
So there's been a lot of successes. There was a peaceful election. The country's very stable. The 3 years we've gone there, we've had just a great time, very peaceful, no problems. So yes, and the answer to no is it's still very poor. The growth national product or any measure of the economy is still very, very weak. The peacekeeping is still done by an external UN force. The Haitians do not have really their own way of keeping peace. So there's been progress, but slow progress, I guess, is a positive way to say it.
So do you think the course will continue for several years moving forward?
Well, when I started the course, I said I would do it for 5 years and then stop.
Why?
The reason is Haiti is known as the country of NGOs. There are so many nonprofit organizations, many of them local, but most of them U.S. oriented. And there are people that worry that the culture, the economic culture, but even the literary and artistic culture is becoming dominated by these external forces.
Right.
And I didn't want my participation in Haiti to be sort of ongoing. The adage that you know, and I don't know whether it's African or Chinese, maybe both,
About
is
the fish?
the fish,
Yeah.
right. You can give a farmer the fish, you
Right.
feed him for a day,
Uh-huh.
you teach him how to
They
farm or
have
fish.
food forever.
So I wanted to be part of the latter. And I think, so both to me, but also to a signal to our Haitian colleagues, Yale, Gordon is not going to be with us for all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that they would say, okay, we better make very good use of him and tell us what not to do because we're wasting their time, and tell us what to do where we can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And back to one of your earlier questions, whether we're being successful at that, I don't know. I am going to stick to my promise of ending in 5 years. So we're going to do 5 years, so 2 more springs. Then we'll do a 6th year where we'll try to do the evaluation. So we'll try to, you can have me back in 3 more years.
Talk about your
and
successes.
I might know a little bit better if I've been a success. Yeah.
Okay. What about some of the surprises or some of the challenges you didn't anticipate going over there with graduate students?
Well, many of our graduate students at Yale, but especially in public health and at the School of Forestry and Environmental Studies, are sort of global world travelers already.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of Peace Corps volunteers, most of the students, graduate students at Yale now, have been out 3 or 4 or 5 years before they come to school. So they have real world experience. And we really can think of them as adults or maybe young adults, but very mature. Mm-hmm. And so I knew from the beginning I wouldn't have to do much hand-holding. The trickiest thing for them is they're used to traveling as independent. You know, in the Peace Corps, they're off on their own.
Sure.
Here, they're traveling as a team. They're part of either a delegation or a consulting firm, and it takes them a little while to figure out how to work cooperatively and take care of each other.
Well, I think that's a good life lesson, to learn to work as a team and collaborate. So I think that's a good thing that's coming out of the class.
Yeah. A welcome but unsurprising thing is, of course, the generosity of the people that are hosting us and we're visiting. I think if you go anywhere in the world, when you talk to probably a lot of the people you've talked to, they've always, I've been treated so well. Mm-hmm. I get taken so care. People care so much about me. The food is delicious. If anything, I think we get embarrassed by that in Haiti because mm-hmm. so many of the people that we're interacting with do not have a lot of food. They may be they may be in a family where there's 1 meal a day. Mm-hmm. And here we are, we're getting 3 meals a day. Our portions are probably bigger than theirs. So we're eating more at 1 meal than they're eating in a whole day.
For a week, or yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's hard. And I'm used to that now, and I sort of take smaller portions, and I try to not be too hungry. But the students are, they're glad to have, and the food is so good mm-hmm. That you eat it up and you go back for seconds. Right. And so seconds is sort of a very rude phenomenon, I think. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so generally speaking, since you've been to Haiti so often, what do you think needs to happen to really move the country forward?
Wow, you're asking big questions here.
Sorry.
Of the topics that I've thought of, the one that I'm most focused on is self-reliance. Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested in promoting or asking questions or seeing where the Haitian people, individuals or groups of individuals, can sort of figure out what they want to get done and do it for themselves. And it's one thing to ask for help for something you want to be helped. It's another thing to get help where somebody else thinks they know
right.
what's good for you. Mm-hmm. So I think the more that the culture, either at the government level or at the individual level, can figure out what he or she and the aggregate they need, and then can go solicit that help from the UN, the United States, Cuba, whatever their ally is going to be or partner is going to be in this. I think that's where success, and it'll be slower maybe. You know the adage, there's no silver bullet. This is sort of admitting there's no silver bullet. So there's going to be lots of small steps and moving forward. One topic that I find fascinating is the history of Haiti. Is that it was a slave colony under the French, and the slaves fought the revolution. So in late 1700s, early 1800s, which is not far after our American Revolution here in the United States. But our revolution was not fought by slaves. So there's a peculiar or particular ambiance or understanding that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to understand, but I know it's important to understand that the way independence was set up was by the slaves overthrowing the master. And that still is affecting the culture, I believe. So again, by the self-reliance, one of the reasons I come to self-reliance is I think the self-reliance is a way that a slave and enslaved people can prove to themselves and prove to others that they're not enslaved anymore, that they've done this themselves. And even though it's 100 and some years later after the revolution, because of the history, especially the relationships with the United States, which have been not very good over many years, I think that this is a very positive sort of psychological benefit. But this is a person who doesn't know a lot about Haiti talking about other people, so we academics know that's sort of a dangerous thing to do. So you'd have to ask some Haitian people, I think, what they think is the next steps.
Well, it sounds like you're doing good things there, and I thank you for being here today, and I will look forward to having you back to wrap up.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
For more information about Professor Geballe and his work, please visit our website at yale.edu/Macmillan Report. Be sure to join us again for another episode of the Macmillan Report, made possible by the Whitney and Betty Macmillan Center for International and Area Studies at Yale. Thank you very much.
Thanks. It was great.
So are there any things that you don't get a chance to do while you're there?